Good evening. A new chapter in American urban politics has begun. In a city that has long stood as the barometer for national change, Zohran Mamdani has emerged triumphant, not just as the next mayor of New York City, but as a symbol of a generational shift in power, identity, and vision. At age 34, he becomes the city's first Muslim mayor, its first mayor of South Asian descent, and a self-described democratic socialist promising a bold overhaul of the metropolis. His victory, delivered in a victory speech that directly addressed former President Donald Trump and declared, "Turn the volume up," marks a potent moment of political turbulence and transformation. His agenda, sweeping rent freezes for millions, free buses, universal childcare, and a radical reimagining of how a global city serves its people. In the words of his own address, "Tonight we have held our breath for longer than we know, thanks to all of you, we are breathing in the air of a city that has been reborn." But his victory also raises deep questions. How will he govern a city of 8 million while keeping bold promises? Can his coalition survive entrenched interests and skeptical business elites? And what ripple effects will this have for national politics, a progressive insurgent in a city long seen as a moderate bulwark? Tonight we'll take you inside the what, how and why of Mamdani's historic win. 1. The upset, how one candidate changed the game. When campaign signs went up last year, Zohran Mamdani was not the frontrunner. He was a relative newcomer, a state assemblyman representing Queens since 2021. But he rode a wave of youthful energy, grassroots organization, and focus on cost-of-living issues, rent, transit, affordable housing. In June's Democratic primary, he stunned politics by defeating former Governor Andrew Cuomo, a seasoned veteran of New York politics, and signaling major dissatisfaction with the establishment. The exit polls and turnaround stories suggest the winning formula combined, a message of economic relief, a diverse coalition of working-class New Yorkers, and a refusal to bow to old-guard politics. In his victory speech, Mamdani didn't just celebrate, he declared war on a system he said honored the few at the expense of the many. Fingers bruised from lifting boxes, these are not hands that have been allowed to hold power, and yet, you dared to reach for something greater. It was a language of transformation, of swept-away power hierarchies and a new dawn for the city's many, not its few. 2. A historic identity moment. Mamdani's win is historic on multiple fronts. He will be the first Muslim mayor of New York City, the first mayor of South Asian descent, and one of the youngest ever to lead the city. His victory is the latest chapter in America's shifting identity politics, where heritage, faith, and youth play a greater role than ever in urban governance. For many voters, this win represented more than policy, it spoke to visibility, inclusion, the sense that government should reflect the city's mosaic. At his Brooklyn election night rally, supporters shouted slogans of reclamation, "This city belongs to you." But with symbolic power comes scrutiny. Mamdani's faith, age, and ideological leanings mean every decision will be watched closely, by supporters looking for deliverables, by critics fearful of radical change, and by national observers measuring the pulse of urban America. 3. The agenda, bold promises, big risks. Let's be clear, Mamdani isn't promising tweaks. He's promising transformation. Among his headline pledges: freeze rent for more than 2 million New Yorkers living in regulated apartments. Make the city's bus system free and faster. Universal childcare and early education expansion citywide. A new Department of Community Safety to replace portions of policing functions, especially mental health and community-based response. Tax increases on millionaires plus corporate reform to fund these services. These are ambitious, and they expose big risks. Funding. Can a city already under fiscal strain deliver major new services without destabilizing the budget? Coalitions. Can he hold together labor unions, tenants, immigrant groups, and progressive activists while navigating state and business pushback? Governance. Will a young mayor with limited executive experience be able to manage the complexity of New York's agencies, bureaucracies, and entrenched interests? In his speech he addressed these tensions frankly. "The future is in our hands, we have toppled a political dynasty," he declared. But he also admitted the journey ahead, the work starts now. In the next 2 years, he must shift from campaign mode to governance, something many progressive insurgents find far more difficult than winning. 4. The opposition and the landscape. While supporters cheer, business leaders and some moderates are on guard. Mamdani's platform, especially around taxation and regulation, has triggered concern among commercial real estate interests, developers, and Wall Street watchers. Critics say his policies could drive capital out, raise costs, or slow development in a city built on commerce and real estate flows. Then there's the state level. New York State's power center isn't the city hall alone. Partnerships with Albany, the governor, and state legislature will be essential. Will the state grant needed funds? Will the city's relationship with state agencies turn cooperative or adversarial? And nationally, Mamdani's explicit challenge to Donald Trump, "Turn the volume up," indicates he views his win as part of a larger ideological fight. That fight crosses boroughs, states, and the entire nation. It positions New York as a test case for progressive governance in the age of populism, identity politics, and economic pressure. 5. Why this win matters beyond New York. It isn't just a mayoral victory, it's a signal flare. Analysts in the UK and Europe are watching closely. One Labour MP called it, "how you defeat right-wing populism." In an era where global politics feels polarized, Mamdani's win sends a message: progressive, diverse, younger leadership can still win major offices. For the Democratic Party in America, this win is both hope and warning. Hope: a new coalition of workers, youth, immigrants, and progressives may be viable again. Warning: if the policy promises don't deliver, disruptors may become liabilities going into national elections. On a deeper level, it underscores how cities like New York are front lines of change, for inequality, climate, immigration, cost of living. Urban policy is becoming national policy. Mamdani may lead a city of 8 million, but the ideas he advances will ripple across states and continents. 6. Immediate challenges: the honeymoon ends fast. Campaigns create momentum, governance demands execution. In his first 100 days, Mamdani faces multiple tests. How will he begin to freeze rents without jeopardizing housing supply or investor confidence? Can bus fare elimination become real without crippling transit funding? Will he maintain fiscal discipline while expanding services? Will he repair relations with the business? Community, state agencies, and labor unions, all essential to making the system work. How will he manage expectations in a city already battered by inequality, climate threats, and infrastructure decay? His victory speech acknowledged the gap: "I will wake each morning with a singular purpose, to make this city better for you than it was the day before." The stakes are high, the window for delivery short. 7. What to watch. As viewers, keep tabs on several indicators. Will the mayor-elect deliver an actionable budget that balances bold promises with realism? How will his "free buses" promise handle funding? Will his homelessness and housing agenda face legal, financial, or logistical headwinds? How will his administration handle the relationship with the police department, state legislators, and business interests? Will this win trigger similar progressive surges in other cities or states, or will it prove unique to New York's context? Will the national media frame this as a turning point, or a risky experiment? 8. The narrative: a city reinventing itself. New York has always stood at the intersection of complexity, global finance and local neighborhoods, immigrant dreams and elite establishments, density and opportunity. Mamdani's win suggests the city is seeking reinvention, not just in policy but in spirit. A place where working New Yorkers feel seen, where youth govern, where diversity isn't an afterthought but a foundation, where affordability trumps growth for growth's sake. But reinvention is never easy. It will require alliances, pragmatism, and governance that honors both ideals and realities. The city that elected a revolutionary must now absorb one, and decide if this is the beginning of a new era or simply an inspired moment.